Patricia Paiva is a sixth grade social studies teacher at Ann Street Elementary School in Newark, New Jersey. This is her first year teaching.
Make sure all cell phones are turned off and put away quickly.
My students love using technology. They use it every day, with cell phones and computers at home and everything.
To keep her students engaged, Patricia incorporates technology into her lessons whenever possible.
I try to use different technologies in my classroom. I do have a classroom webpage. Every day I put up the homework.
Basically what we're going to do today is we're going to read different survivor stories of the Holocaust. And you're going to go onto our website, our classroom website. Okay, what's our classroom website, by the way?
They love to see the animations that I put or the pictures and things like that. So I think it motivates the students more.
To take her teaching to the next level, Patricia is consulting with social media expert Cheryl Nussbaum-Beach. Since Cheryl lives in Virginia, they're meeting online via Skype.
So nice to meet you. Tell me who you are.
So my name is Patricia Paiva. I teach language arts and social studies to a bilingual classroom. And it's actually my first year teaching, and I'm having a great old time.
So I want to know a little bit about the technology. Are a lot of teachers using it?
As teachers, yes, we do use a lot of technology. We try to use as much as we can. We have about 3 computers that students are able to use in the classroom, and once a week a class is actually scheduled to go to the computer room where all the students are able to use the computer at the same time.
Are you using much social media, you personally?
Facebook. I used MySpace before, but not that into it anymore. YouTube, Twitter, things like that.
Cheryl starts by assessing potential hurdles to using social media in Patricia's classroom.
What do you think the obstacles are going to be in terms of you and I co-creating a lesson plan that's going to use social media?
Maybe the internet connection if we're not going to be face-to-face. We did have some technical difficulties before we started, but we did get everything going. It did take us a couple minutes, but I think that's the only thing I'm mainly concerned about.
Now, does the technology coordinator help you when you're in the lab with them, when you're working on the blog replies and things like that?
Yeah.
Or are you pretty much on your own?
No, he's always available. He helps us with everything we need, so he's really, really good with that.
Developing a relationship with a technology support person in your building just becomes critical. Because if you have a relationship with that person or another technology using teacher, then you have somebody that's going to kind of help you take baby steps and walk through it in the beginning.
So what were you thinking about teaching? What was the lesson that you were kind of mulling around, or have you gotten that far?
Right now in social studies, we're talking about the Holocaust. What I was actually thinking was having them, conduct a web quest. And I actually did start, putting everything together. I actually had a PowerPoint that I wanted to show them prior to them even starting.
A lot of times a teacher will begin with the tools. So they start thinking about what are all the cool tools. I know, I want to do blogging. And the problem with that is whenever you start with the technology, it's like a tool going looking for a problem to solve. You really want to start with what is it that we're trying to get the student to know and be able to do. So in this Holocaust lesson, what is it that you want to be different at the end of the lesson than it was at the beginning?
The focus really needs to be on the learning. The teachers start with the content. They look at the state standards. They look at the content that they're supposed to be covering. And then they're going to think about the pedagogy. What kind of activity am I going to do to help these kids retain this information and really learn it more deeply? That's when technology comes in.
I actually set up an objective, and if I could read it to you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Sure. My objective was, after reading and watching a video about the life of Anne Frank, the students will be able to examine the life of other children who lived during the Holocaust and those who helped them survive by conducting a web quest and creating a video/PowerPoint.
The PowerPoint piece isn't social media. What we want to do is we want to take them past the creation of knowledge, which is what they do in the PowerPoint or what they do in the web quest. And now we're going to move them over to where they're sharing, they're connecting, they're collaborating, and they're acting collectively.
Okay.
And that
Teachers should also create a network of like-minded educators.
Starting to use technology as an educator to connect and to collaborate with people around the world, using tools like Twitter, they can pick and choose and vet certain educators, and then they can throw a question out to their personal learning network like, I want to teach a lesson on the Holocaust, and I'm trying to decide what would be the best way to do it. We're reading the Diary of Anne Frank. Does anybody have any ideas?
So I had an idea as you were talking. I happen to have a good good friend who is a first-year teacher as well, and she has just recently moved to the Netherlands.
Oh.
And I went to see her in Amsterdam, and guess what's in Amsterdam? The Museum of Anne Frank.
Yep.
That's where that's where it happened.
Yeah.
So it might be that we could do something where your students could maybe interview Mary via Skype. You think that would be anything that would be exciting?
Yeah, I think that's very exciting, actually.
Cheryl suggests using a tool called VoiceThread to assess how well students have understood the lesson.
VoiceThread will allow each child to create their own slide, and they can weigh in on that slide so that the VoiceThread becomes the assessment. Do you see how that would be?
Yeah.
The greatest place to put technology is in the area of assessment. So by thinking about what can I have them create, what artifact can I have them work through using this technology to create, or connect and collaborate with someone that is then going to prove to me that they've mastered this lesson. I think we've got a great way to kick it off with the reading and the interviewing of the expert that's actually in the Netherlands at the Anne Frank house. That's where this is. And then and they'll get to see the house that she lived in.
I'm actually very anxious to do this lesson. I think they're going to enjoy it. You know, all my students love to use the computer. They always ask every time they're done with work, can I use the computer?
Maybe I can come on site and watch you teach.
Okay, that would be awesome.
That'd be great? All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you today.
No problem. I also enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much.
On the day of the lesson, Cheryl travels from Virginia to observe Patricia's class.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Nice to meet you.
So good to see you face to face. So what are we doing today? How have you decided to?
So today we're actually going to have a Skype conversation with some people from the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam.
That's good.
And the students are actually going to brainstorm some questions. They already have some questions in mind. They're going to just ask them questions about the museum and the history behind it and all of that.
All right, great. Well, it looks like we're ready to go.
Yes, we are.
I can't wait.
What we're going to do is we are going to the computer lab very quickly now. Okay, we're going to have an introduction. Anna's going to be the person introducing our class. You have your little card. Just put it in your head, whatever it is. You introduce yourself, you introduce your students, your classmates. So let's start with the ladies. Line up quietly.
Today, Patricia's class will be using Skype to interview Anne-Marie Becker, a historian at the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam.
Shh, make sure you listen because it's hard to hear.
We learned a lot about the Anne Frank, and we just want to learn more information about it. So we're very happy.
I'm very happy to be in your classroom this morning and to answer your questions about Anne Frank and the museum.
We are going to start with just some questions, so we'll have the students come up, introduce themselves, and they'll ask their questions, if that's okay.
Okay, can you please ask them to speak loudly?
Yes, we'll have them speak a little bit louder and closer to the camera.
My first question is, what types of artifacts are present in the museum?
All the diary papers, the notes are to be seen for the public here in the museum, as well as a notebook where she wrote her short stories.
Hi, my name's Tiago, and my question is, what must you do to keep the museum open to the public?
We try to maintain it as well as possible because we get a lot of visitors. The most important is to maintain the originals. And for example, a few years ago, we restored the pictures in Anne Frank's room.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and my question is, do you think you ever felt the way Anne Frank did by experiencing what she has been through in the house?
Anne Frank was very frightful because she was hidden and the risk of being betrayed was very high. And she knew what was going to happen. She would be sent to concentration camps. So I think it's hard to imagine what she must have felt.
We're still going on with Anne Frank and the Holocaust, so I'm sure we're going to have some more questions and we're going to do some more research. But I did just want to thank you personally so much for your time and effort, you know, and all your hard work. And let's just say bye, boys and girls. Bye.
It was very nice to see the children and to receive the questions, to answer the questions. And I was impressed about how much they knew already about Anne Frank, and the questions were sometimes quite difficult for me to answer, but very nice experience.
Okay, eyes and ears on the projector. It's voicethread.com. What you're going to do is you're going to create a video dedicated to Holocaust survivors. You're going to use your voice to narrate your video. So you go to upload. This is where you can upload either a picture or a video if you have one. So I'm just going to give you an example. It's going to load the image. You see it moving. And it's going to, oh, hold on a second. So it looks to me like this is taking pretty long. So you know that with technology we need a lot of patience, right, boys and girls? Yes. So what I want you to do is you're going to log off. We're going to continue this later on when we have more time, and we're going to do it again step by step.
So, wow. That was exciting, right?
It was, right? The kids had a great time.
They did. How did you enjoy it?
I noticed that the kids were so engaged, and I loved seeing that.
It was very inspirational to me. I thought that you did a fabulous job. One of the first takeaways that we had when you and I just started planning the lesson is we talked about that you really want to start with the learning, not the tools. So as you're thinking about the technology, you always want to ask yourself, am I doing this just because I think Skype's cool? Or is there something that would really deepen the learning by using Skype in this way? And there was. How did you go about preparing for today's lesson with the technology and the tools? Had you used Skype a lot before?
No, it was actually my first time using it, but I did test it out on my own. I created my own Skype account. I did test it out a little bit at home.
So that's a pretty important tip, right? Whenever teachers are going to use new technologies, we'd never bring a video in and just pop it in and say, let's watch this. We always go home and watch the video first, and then we bring it in. And so it should be the same way with technology. Teachers should use it first and kind of figure out how to troubleshoot it. So tell me how you thought the lesson went. What did you like? What did you think went well? And what would you change?
When I was doing the modeling with the voice thread, it was taking a little bit longer than I thought. So, I would probably, I guess maybe just check the computer or the network to see if it's working properly before I even started.
Planning is an important part of this.
Yes.
You can't expect technology to go well if you just kind of like throw it together at the last minute and get in there. And the good news is that you always need to have a plan B. And you did.
Yeah.
The one little teeny tiny thing that failed, you were right there. You had a plan B. Having them each create their own is almost like a whole nother lesson in and of itself. What might have been better to fit it in quickly with what today was doing, which I think was you were trying to do an assessment of today's stuff, would have been you to create one ahead of time like you did. You could have used that as modeling. You could have shown that for your objective, but then had them each comment right then. What's something you took away from this Skype interview? The last thing that I wanted to talk about was the final takeaway, and that takeaway is where we really look at what happens after the lesson. I thought the discussion that you had with your students afterwards about technology was just brilliant.
We did use a lot of technology today, right?
Yep.
So my question is, what are your thoughts based on all this technology that we use?
The thing I like about technology is that, in books we can read about the history, but we can talk to other people and know what their experience about everything, and that's
good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Having that kind of conversation where your students actually can say, this really worked for me, and this is why, and this didn't, not only gives them ownership in the lesson, but it really is helpful for you to think about how to use those technologies in the future. So I'm really excited for you. Do you think you're going to use technology again in your lesson?
Yes, definitely, and I will, just because, and I keep going back to just, that engagement that the students had and that motivation. I definitely want to use it again.
Well, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed working with you.
And I enjoyed working with you.
And thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
A lot of teachers say, who's got time for that? I just can't make the time. If you're going to ask yourself, why do I change? Why should I put the energy into it? Why should I put the effort into it? The reason you want to do it is for the children's sake. We live in a time of fast-paced change. Now what we've got to do is we've got to produce kids who are going to be collaborating with people all over the world, often online. We've got to make sure these kids have the digital skills to help them be prepared for the world that awaits them.
Anticipate barriers to implementing new technology. Develop a close relationship with the technology coordinator. Define the lesson objective, then select the appropriate technology. Build a personal learning network. Integrate technology into assessment. Try new technologies before using them in class. Discuss the new technology with students to see what worked and what didn't.